Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the I'm Doing Great podcast. Guess what? It is the 60th episode. I know we really don't like counting episodes. Do we want to be that podcast? I don't know. But it's nice knowing. It's nice knowing today is the 60th episode of the IDG podcast. We're very happy to have made it to 60. And I don't know. I was thinking about a cool guest for our 69th episode. I think that'd be kind of cool, right?
Oh, who are you thinking?
Gavin.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. That'd be nice.
He'll come back down, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into it, guys, remember, SonoranDefense.com. What a great place. What a great company. What a great group of guys the Sonoran guys are. Go to SonoranDefense.com. Use our code IDG10. That gets you 10% off of everything on the site with the exception of the guns themselves, okay? They do great stippling work. Get accessories from them. They also do custom mags for your rifles, which are really, really interesting, and they come out really, really cool. We might be doing a giveaway with them at some point. So look forward to that. Hey, also, guys, have you been to I'mDoingMerch.com? Go to I'mDoingMerch.com. Look, I'm on it right now. Get yourself a Based Joey t-shirt. I don't know why you haven't gotten anyone. Like, no one's gotten one yet.
No way.
No one's gotten a Based Joey shirt or the Based Joey crop.
How could you not want that flowy crop?
That's what I'm saying. Like, look at this Asian girl.
Face.
Look how happy she is wearing her Based Joey crop, right? Mm-hmm. Guys, I'm serious. Just go to I'mDoingMerch.com. There's a lot of fun stuff on there. People have gotten some mugs. We saw someone with the Equalities of False God sticker, and it came out really good. We got stuff for the kiddos over here. Oh, I hate kiddos. We got stuff for the kids here.
I do.
I don't like saying kiddos. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's one of the videos that Rowan watches. They say, hey kiddos.
Hey kiddos.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. Go to I'mDoingMerch.com. Get yourself some merch. And with that, I guess, let's start the show. Gina, what do you want to talk about today?
Oh, there's a lot going on, isn't there? Well, we can start with the Matt Walsh and Vanderbilt University transgender clinic, butcher clinic.
Okay, let's go.
We can start with that.
Do you think most people don't know what's going on, especially outside of Nashville?
Maybe. Matt Walsh is pretty big, though, and he's been reporting it, but let's do an overview really quick. So, obviously, this is what's happening here in Nashville. Vanderbilt University is obviously a huge university here, and Matt's team did a little investigating into the transgender clinic at Vanderbilt, which was established in 2018, and he dug up some lectures that were recorded and put online where one of the doctors from the transgender clinic was pushing for their department to do more and more, quote, gender affirming surgeries because they are a, quote, big moneymaker, unquote. Real shocker there, right?
Right.
So there's all these videos, and there's another video of another doctor in the department essentially threatening the other doctors and saying that if you oppose this work because of religious beliefs, there will be consequences.
Right.
So bullying doctors into perform, which I'm pretty sure is illegal.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Well, they said big moneymaker, and also part of that video is that I think the underlying why do I always do this? When we have a show, I know what I'm going to say before it, and then when we actually start talking, I guess one of the underlying reasons why they are promoting this type of work is, as you said, it's a big moneymaker, but they also says we have patients for 10 years.
Yes, all the follow-up
So
visits.
that's why they want to get them a little bit younger too, because if you have someone at 8, you can have them till they're 18. And, insurance pays out for all that stuff now, so who knows?
They also said that they referred to one clinic that does, not at Vanderbilt, but they referred to a different clinic that does a ton of gender affirming surgeries. That's obviously in quotes. And they said that the phalloplasties themselves pay for the entire clinic.
Right.
And so they're essentially encouraging these doctors to perform vaginoplasties and phalloplasties because they are so tedious, they're so expensive, they require a lot of follow-ups, and it's hundreds of thousands of dollars per
so
patient.
phalloplasty is a fake penis? Oh, man.
Yeah. They take the skin from
grafts,
the...
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And so just kind of a side note before we go on, we were talking to Landon Starbuck yesterday, which we're going to tell that story a little bit later. Right. And I asked her, I said, how on earth could these doctors even think it's okay to say that? Why would they even say that out loud? And she said something that it kind of switched on a light for me that I think we've all known but haven't articulated. She says, they have become so brazen. They have become so bold to say exactly what they're doing only because nobody is stopping them.
Right.
Only because no parents are going to the hospitals are going to places where they're drag queens or whatever and saying, no, no, and no, stop this. This is gross. This is degenerate. This is wrong. It's evil. And she's saying they have become so brazen because nobody is stopping them. So Matt Walsh's team found all these videos and launched like, their own little investigation, and then found that they have this weird program called Trans Buddies.
Oh, Trans Buddies is good. Yeah.
Yeah, the Trans Buddies is really great. Just totally on brand.
And it's for minors, correct? Like, you don't need your parents to go to gender affirming appointments with you or surgery. Or like, it's like they go with you to the surgeries. They're there with you after the surgeries. Yeah.
They make sure that the doctors don't misgender you, because God forbid the doctors misgender you. And of course, it's like, don't go with your mommy and daddy to the appointment with the clinic with a doctor. Go with weirdo trans Z-zer and have that person accompany you to the appointment. And
well, yeah, it's ideal if your parents are against it, right?
It's ideal if you can separate them from the parents. That's the whole point of the movement, right? So his team investigated all this and found a lot of different Zoom meetings and lectures that were recorded. And then he was sharing stuff from the website and even sharing clips from these meetings admitting that they were giving irreversible hormone therapy to 13-year-olds. And
the castration drugs or whatever.
Yeah, chemical castration. Within hours, they wiped their entire website from the internet.
The Vanderbilt one?
That the whole transgender clinic website wiped, scrubbed.
Really?
Within hours. Yeah. Yeah. And then after that, Matt Walsh met with the governor of Tennessee and Senator, I don't know if he met with the senator, but he did, or maybe he did meet with I think he did.
Okay.
Well, regardless, Governor Bill Lee and Senator Marsha Blackburn are launching an official investigation of Vanderbilt University and their transgender clinic. This is why it's very important. We've talked about this a lot. It is not enough to scream on the internet and scream into the abyss and complain about sicko trans people and trans activists. It's not enough. We have to mobilize.
Yeah.
And we have to do our own investigations, because that the media is not going to investigate.
Right.
They don't care. They want it to happen.
Someone made this comment on the YouTube video of you talking about Greg Abbott busing illegals to certain places, and you saying like a lot of these politicians have to step up and saying, listen, no, I'm willing to put my butt on the line to do the right thing here. And the guy said, well, it's really easy to say that from your cushy podcast studio. And I said, yeah, it's
that's
pretty easy to tell politicians or to ask of politicians to do the right thing. That's easy anywhere. But also what we did yesterday when we went to the library, which we'll talk about yesterday, like we actually do things here and we're pretty proactive about what we stand for.
We're also not the ones running for office. Like if you're going to run for office and if you're going to say you're going to represent the American people, represent the American people.
Correct.
Like obviously it's easy for us. It's like when people criticize, they've criticized Matt Walsh before for saying things about the military, like all the woke stuff about the military. And they're like, well, it's easy for you to say. It's like Matt's like, yeah, I haven't served. Like if you're going to sign up to serve, you got to do it right. If you're going to sign up to say you're going to represent the American people, then represent the American people. Like I'm not sitting here saying that I represent the American people and I'm going to represent my constituents. We're not doing that.
Right. Exactly.
Like if you're gonna become governor of a state and swear to protect your constituents and do the right thing for the American people, then do it.
Yeah.
Then do it. It's really that simple. But anyway, so they scrubbed the website. It's not even available anymore. And now, of course, Matt Walsh and Daily Wire are getting attacked, and they're accusing Matt Walsh of inciting violence, and they're saying he's some sort of monster because he simply uncovered information that came from Vanderbilt.
Wait, Matt Walsh is the monster? It sounds like the monsters to me in this tale are the doctors and the administration of this clinic who brag about how much money they can make by mutilating kids. Those sound like monsters to me. I mean, I might be a little biased, but
maybe we're a little bit old-fashioned, but
yeah, we believe that the monsters are the ones chopping, limbs off of kids to make fake penises or vaginas. Might be the monsters. I don't know.
And cutting the breasts off of perfectly healthy minors, just because they feel like a boy.
Remember in episode 20 when I said I would never get a certain trans person on the show? Yeah, I still believe that, but I really am interested in talking to someone who detransitioned. I'm really interested because
We've got a few. Abel. Remember Abel?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We had a phone call with him when we did Elijah's Live.
Yeah, we should get him on the show.
He and we've chatted a couple times via DMs, and he's very interested in coming. It's just a matter of getting him to Nashville.
Yeah.
which is why we need some funding, but it's a different thing.
Yeah, hey guys, buy some merch.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Buy some merch, so it's a win-win. You get some awesome merch, and you get to hear from a detransitioner. He also said that Chloe, have you been following Chloe?
Is that the one that went on Michael Knowles' show?
Yes, she's been going on.
Maybe on like Dr. Phil or something like that.
I think she also went on Tucker.
Then yeah, I may have heard of her. Yeah.
Abel said that Chloe would be more than happy to come on our show too.
Let's reach out.
Yeah,
cool.
I think that's a really important conversation to have. So that's the latest with Vanderbilt. And around the same time, Landon and I went. My family went to hang out with the Starbucks this weekend, and Landon and I were just talking about all of the material in libraries that are available to children now that is essentially pornographic material.
Segue into next segment.
Exactly. And she and I were saying how it's just like crazy timing that all of this is coming out about Vanderbilt. And at the same time, Landon discovered there's a week at a public library here called Banned Book Week.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is a conservative area, so-called conservative area. And Banned Book Week was featuring, of course, all the books about trans and gay stuff. Just all the LGBT alphabet people stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a couple of books that were brought to Landon's attention that had very explicit sexual content in it. A book called This Book is Gay. And I can send you a screenshot of what's in there.
I can put it up on my computer right now just to show people some of the videos that we took.
Do you have the excerpt of it? Because I have a photo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Landon was talking about a few of the books that were on the banned book list at this public library. And this is a huge library here. And she asked me, she said, would you be willing to come with me to the library and have a discussion with the librarians about what's going on? And I said, absolutely. I would love to do that because like we've said many times, and like many people have said, it's not enough to just sit there and complain and be against what's happening without stepping up and doing something about it. Because I always say this, the only reason why weirdo William Thomas is able to take medals and smash records for women swimming is because the parents allow it to happen. It's because the university allows it to happen. The only reason that we see drag queens twerking in front of kids and doing drag story hour and allowing kids to put dollar bills in their pocket is because the parents allow it to happen. It's the only reason it's happening. If we had parents with a spine, a backbone, who were willing to stand up for their kids and put their foot down and say no to degeneracy, then this would not be a problem.
So here's one of those books. It's called Wonderfully Made. I'll put it up on the screen here. And a guide for LGBTQ Christian teens.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Talk about some of the stuff that you saw.
So I'll also send you the excerpt from This Book is Gay. So this book, was this the one that had explained all of the body parts and the different types of sex and all that?
That's right, yeah.
Because there's a book, the one called This is Gay. I'll read an excerpt and you can throw it up too. There's a section called Blowies.
Oh, blowies. Oh, no, you didn't send me that, but just
I just texted that to you, so it might come through.
Oh, okay. Hold on one
So there's a section called Blowies. And just to also preface this, all of these books are in the teen section. They're in the teen/young adult section. And this section called Blowies. I'm going to read a couple of lines from this. So if you're listening with kids, I mean, now is a good time to mute or turn the volume down because it's certainly not appropriate. Oral sex is popping another dude's peen in your mouth or indeed popping yours in his. There is only one hard and fast rule when it comes to blowjobs. Watch the teeth. Lips and tongue, yes. Teeth, no. As with hand jobs and breakfast eggs, all men like their blowjobs served in different ways. The term blowjob is massively misleading as you won't actually be blowing on his penis. It's more about sucking. It's more about sliding your mouth up and down the shaft of his cock. I can't even read the next paragraph.
It's on the screen.
Okay,
so
I'm not even going to read it. You guys can read it. If you're listening on audio, that's enough to hear. If you're watching, you can see. It's talking about, what happens at the end of said sexual act. This is promoted in the teen section of the library. So Landon made a list of books that her team discovered was in the library system that you can obviously look at online.
Here's another one of them. I'll play it. You can keep talking.
And we decided to, what's the tea? That's the same author as This Book is Gay, Juno Dawson. And so the three of us, Mike and I, along with Landon, went to the library yesterday, and we we looked at all the books in that teen section, and we pulled out a lot of others that weren't on the banned book list, but that looked really suspicious. Landon checked out 9 books, and she's going through them in more detail. And we're going to kind of talk more about what other books we saw in that section. But as you can see on the screen, if you're listening on audio, Mike's showing a video of another book called What's the Tea? And it has drawings of the different body parts and explains, different kinds of sex. And it's very explicit. It's essentially pornographic content. Like, this is not something that you would show to kids. And so what we did was we decided to approach the librarian and ask her if there was an age limit, a minimum age at which kids were allowed to check out books.
Yeah, this was a little confusing at first, but I think she ended up clarifying it. So what was the age limit she talked about?
So first of all, there is no minimum age to check out these books as long as there's a parent with them.
Right.
So a 6-year-old could go to the librarian, and as long as there is an adult with them. But the thing is, Landon and I said, how do you know that it's the parent? Like, how do you know it's not just some groomer or some adult that is grooming a child and bringing a 6-year-old into the library to grab a book called This Book is Gay, talks about blowjobs, and the adult with them has a library card so they can check them out. Like, are you checking to make sure it's their parent?
Right.
No, of course not. And then she also said that if a child is at least 12 years old, they can check out any book they want by themselves. So a 12-year-old can pick up a book about blowjobs and anal sex, go to the librarian, can I check out these books, please? And the librarian will say, you sure can, sweetie. And they will hand them pornographic content.
And then you asked, or Landon asked, I can't remember, one of you guys asked, would you allow the child to take this book out? And what did she respond? Didn't she say something along the lines of, I don't think I would? Or what did she say?
She basically said something like, it's not my job to censor. She said, it's not my job to decide for the child. And when she said, it's not my job to censor, or she said something like, we don't censor, Landon asked point blank, do you show pornography to children?
Right.
And she said, no. And Landon said, that's censorship.
Right.
Obviously, you censor things for kids.
Right.
You're not supposed to show everything to kids. You're not supposed to show them sexually explicit content. You're not supposed to show them violent content. You're not supposed to show them like videos of people murdering each other. Like, you censor things for kids. That's the role of adults and parents.
All the time, yeah.
All the time. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure you censor things for your 2-year-old.
Right.
That's how it is. So the woman, you could tell, I mean, I also want to say that we were very
very polite. Yeah, we weren't confrontational. We weren't, what's the word? Like, instigating her to get a reaction from her. We were literally having just a conversation with her.
We weren't being provocative.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
We were just, we're presenting ourselves as concerned parents.
What was the whole thing she said about, well, we shouldn't censor. And then Landon said something, well, do you know what's in the book? And she doesn't even know what's in the book.
Yeah.
What was that whole thing about?
Landon says, do you support Banned Book Week? And she said, I do, absolutely. And Landon said, have you read this book?
And she said no.
She said no. And Landon's like, how can you support something you haven't read for kids?
Yeah.
And then you could tell the woman was thinking about it. And the woman said, I'm a parent. I get the concern. So she's a mom too. And it was a really productive conversation because you could tell that she's never been approached about this. And of course, this woman is not the director of the library.
Right.
She's just an employee who checks out books and does her job. So she gave us the information. I didn't tell you this yet. She gave us the information for the director of the library.
Right.
And I said I would call.
You left a voice message. Oh, she did. What did she say?
She called me back yesterday. So this is where Landon and I you can come too. We're going to go meet with the director next week. She was reluctant to agree to a meeting, but I insisted. So she called me. She said, I understand that there's some concern about books. She said, we have a very rigorous process to determine which books are allowed to be in the library. And I brought up first, This Book is Gay.
Okay.
And I said, this is on the banned book list.
Yeah.
And I said, I can't believe that this pornographic content is available to children. I said, as a concerned parent in this area, I'm not comfortable when my daughter gets to a certain age, allowing her to just roam the library by herself. I said, there's pornography in this book. And she said, oh, we don't carry that book in the library. I said, you don't carry that book in the library? She says, no, that's not available. She says, that's a national banned book list that we just display because that's what many public libraries around the country are doing for Banned Book Week. I called Landon after. She says, that means they took the book out of the system. She says, because they saw that book online in the system available to check out. So they took that book out. And before she even said that, she said to me, she said, it's not our job. We don't censor intellectual content. And I said to her, ma'am, pornography is not intellectual content.
Right.
And she says, we're not judges. It's not up to us to judge what is and what isn't. And Landon said to me on the phone, she says, that's really interesting. She says, it's not her job to censor. Then why did they censor that book?
Right.
Why did they take that book out of the library? It's not available to
Wait, I thought
anymore.
I thought this book was taken out because we tried to take it out.
No, that was Beyond Magenta.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
That was that memoir about
so they just display the book in the library?
They display, remember that showcase with the in the glass case, whatever. And the woman said that that's just a national list of banned books. It doesn't mean that they carry them.
Oh, gotcha.
But so Landon and I we're going to ask her when we go next week, but it sounds to us like a parent has complained and they had to take it out.
Oh, really?
That's what it sounds like. Could be wrong.
Yeah.
Who knows? They may have taken the book out for different reasons. Maybe they saw some, just a lot of stuff circulating online and they didn't want to get into any heat. But on the phone call, I said, we're very concerned. I said, we want to have a meeting with you in person. She said, I don't understand. What's the point of this meeting?
Yeah.
I said, the point is to discuss the fact that you are allowing sexually explicit content to be borrowed at the library for kids as young as 12 years old without any parental consent.
Right.
And she said, what's your end goal? I said, my end goal is to protect children. I said, when are you available for a meeting?
Wow.
And she said, well, on Friday it's kind of busy. And I said, are you available next week? And she said, yes, I can make some time. I said, okay, great. I'm going to talk to my friend and we're going to email you and we're going to come in next week to meet with you.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm furious
that,
again, that phone call was more than polite.
Yeah.
It was very cordial, but I was firm and I made it very clear that I'm not going to let it just slip by and let these books sit on the shelves.
Do we know who bans books? Not the directors of libraries, but there was is it ALA, American Library Association, or do we know who actually bans the books? Because there was a banned book that was and guys, help me out in the comments, especially if any of you guys I know are younger and have probably been in high school recently and maybe have gotten a book banned from the high school. But there was a book in there, and I'd seen the movie. It's called Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. And it's Olivia Cook's in it, and I love Olivia Cook. But it's a movie about a girl who's dying from cancer, and there's a boy who's loves making movies with his best friend, and his mother kind of encourages him to befriend this girl because she's dying and it would be nice if they made friends and stuff like that. And it's like teen drama. There was nothing sexually explicit about the movie. There was nothing suicidal imagery in the movies or anything like that. It was a depressing movie, but I don't understand why it would have been banned.
That's a good question.
The other books, yeah, I understand banning those because even what's the one? This is the Tea or the Tea?
What's the Tea?
What's the Tea? That was just weird. That was just, it was like a map. It was basically a map book on how to have sex in all these different types of way and like different body parts. And it was weird.
Weird.
We never had that growing up.
Never.
We had maybe some biology books and the anatomy ones, you kind of look at the naked woman and we're like, oh, and that's it. And you're like, okay, penis, vagina, vulva, okay, all that stuff, right? But this is just sexually explicit, describing sexual interactions, different types of intercourse, and it was just odd. It was just like, this is no place for the young adults or even, the teen section or whatever it was. And young adults, you were mentioning, it's a really good way to camouflage these types of books because young adult can be someone who's 23 years old, you know what I mean? It's very weird.
Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing, and the loophole that Landon was talking to us about is obscenity is allowed as long as it's categorized as educational material. So that's how that's the loophole. That's how they get away with talking about anal sex and blowjobs because it's obscene, but it's promoted as educational material.
That's awful. You know who else is awful? Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams is very awful. Gina sent me a text message. She said, let's talk about this on the next show. So I will pull up the tweet. So this is Georgia Democrat Stacey Abrams. I don't have my computer hooked up to the audio, but this is verbatim what she said. There's no such thing as a heartbeat at 6 weeks. It is a manufactured sound designed to convince people that men have the right to take control of a woman's body. That's probably not what that means. It probably means that this baby, this human, is alive in the woman's womb. I don't think it's manufactured. If they're saying if a doctor put a stethoscope up to that part of, the belly, you wouldn't hear it. So they have to go in with, a sonogram, and you're able to hear the flutter and see the flutter. So I pulled up, I Googled, is there a heartbeat at 6 weeks? So I want to read along with you guys this article, and it comes from, livescience.com. So I don't really know, the background of this website, but it was written by, let's see. Rachel Redner. What exactly do we mean when we talk about a, quote, fetal heartbeat at 6 weeks of pregnancy? And this picture, if you guys are listening, it just shows an ultrasound of an embryo about 6 weeks. Editor's note, this article was originally published on May 17, 2019, and updated on September 1st, 2021, before the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade on June 24th, 2022, thus eliminating the constitutional right to abortion in the U.S. Therefore, there is no constitutional right to abortion.
Thank you.
The legal information in this article may no longer be accurate. So it starts. So far this year, 11 states have enacted 90 laws meant to restrict abortion, based the most in a single year since 1973's Roe v. Wade ruling. Now, lawmakers in 9 U.S. states have passed laws banning abortions when a fetal heartbeat can be detected, more based, or at 6 weeks of pregnancy, according to data from the Guttmacher Institute, a nonprofit organization for sexual and reproductive health research and advocacy, who, by the way, the Guttmacher Institute, they have very reliable numbers. They are very left-wing nonprofit. They are very pro-abortion nonprofit, but their numbers aren't manufactured. They seem to have pretty reliable numbers, and this is the number that when we talked about, the reasons why women get abortions, and over 99.5% of them are for elective and reasons of convenience and stuff like that, right? That comes from the Guttmacher. People are like, where do you get these numbers from? The Guttmacher Institute.
Which is a left-leaning institute.
Exactly.
For what it's worth.
Let's continue reading, shall we? Okay, but what exactly do we mean when we talk about a, quote, fetal heartbeat at 6 weeks of pregnancy? Although some people might picture a heart-shaped organ beating inside a fetus, this is not the case. I don't think anyone thinks that. Rather, at 6 weeks of pregnancy, an ultrasound can detect a little flutter in the area that will become the future heart of the baby, said Dr. Samia Aftab, medical director of the Fetal Care Center at Nicholas Children's Hospital in Miami. This flutter happens because the group of cells that will become the future pacemaker of the heart gain the capacity to fire electrical signals, she said. But the heart is far from fully formed at this stage, and the, quote, beat isn't audible. If doctors put a stethoscope up to a woman's belly this early on in her pregnancy, they would not hear a heartbeat, Aftab told Live Science. What's more, it isn't until the 8th week of pregnancy that the baby is called a fetus. Prior to that, it's still considered an embryo, according to the Cleveland Clinic. I just wanted to say, what they are not saying is that it's not a human.
Yeah.
So they are absolutely acknowledging this is a human person.
Because what's an embryo?
Right. It's a developing human person. So for Stacey Abrams to just say it's totally manufactured. No, it's not. I think technology has gotten better over the last 30 years that you're now able to see the sort of wonderment and just the kind of miracle that is happening inside of a woman's body during the development of an embryo into a fetus, and then obviously up into a baby. So we can go and read the rest of the article, but it's not necessary. It pretty much ends right there. Although a lot of weight seems to be put on the detection of this flutter, by no means does it translate to viability of the heart or viability of the pregnancy, Aftab said. That's understandable. We know that.
Yeah.
Right? We know that. We know that just because a baby's in there at 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 20 weeks, we don't know if it's going to be a viable pregnancy. We don't know that.
Right.
What we do know is that it is a human entity. It's a human baby. It is a human person.
Baby.
And that is enough to protect that person's right to be born.
Yes. Or give them the chance to develop.
Right,
it will
exactly.
develop into a human.
And if the baby ends up not being viable, and if it's an unfortunate miscarriage, we weep at that.
Yes, exactly. I think it's not funny, but it kind of is. That Stacey Abrams is actually trying to say that you going to a sonogram at 6 weeks and hearing the heartbeat is the patriarchy.
Oh yeah, it gives men total control of your body. I don't also, where do they get these talking points from?
They just have to blame it on something. So right outside my daughter's nursery, we have the picture of the very first sonogram. Mm-hmm. It was at 6 or 7 weeks, and she's so teeny tiny.
I think ours is at 8 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, and it says I think it was on maybe Mother's Day or something last year. My mom got me a frame that says "Love at First Sight," and she put it in there. It's so sweet, and it's like right outside her nursery. And that was the first appointment where we heard a heartbeat. And I'll never forget, I came out sobbing. Yeah, because I heard the heartbeat, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's my daughter!" I couldn't believe
so did Carly.
It was like the most magical thing ever.
That was the only appointment that I was allowed into. was that first sonogram.
Yeah.
Where I think you see her and she's looking there, Carly, with her shirt on, pulled up and whatever. They're going like this. And she's like, okay, you see that that's her. And she's like, oh, and I'm like, whoa. But then they're like, okay, hold on. And then they're like, you hear that? And it's like, and then that's where she got really emotional. Because I think, actually hearing that, it's not necessarily manufactured. That thing isn't the physical, full grown human heart pumping blood and everything like that. But that is almost the inception of that heart. It's the beginning of that heart. And I think that's so much more meaningful. You know what I mean? Especially as the experience for the mom who's hearing that for the first time. But to say that this is the patriarchy being able to control your body is absolutely asinine. She's retarded. She's an idiot. She's fat. A moron and fat. I'm sorry, but all of those are accurate and deserved of her. How can you as a Catholic say that? She is. So I think that's it. Hey, listen, do you want to talk about my near-death experience?
I do. I definitely want to talk about that.
We'd gotten a question about it, and we have some great questions for today.
Yeah.
By the way, so I'll start with this.
Okay.
It's a long story, but I can condense it a little bit.
Okay.
So in 2017, I was living in LA at the beginning of 2017, and my buddies who I used to live with, they managed this artist. And they called me one day and they said, hey, could you do a music video for one of our artists? We can't really pay you. There's no budget, but we'll cover the equipment cost, the equipment rental, and we'll cover your flight. I was like, oh, this is great. I haven't been back home since I moved out here. It had almost been a year to the day. So I said, yeah, I'll come out. I'll do it. Fine. I could see my family and, I could shoot a video and have a free flight. So I did that. Rent this studio in New York that I actually had shot out of a bunch. Actually, I did a bunch of Gavin's photos at the same studio. So I rented it again. And we do this video. It's myself, a friend of my friend, his name was Adri. And he was assisting me on the set. We had someone else who was kind of like an intern or something just on the set helping us out. And then we had the talent. So one of the things that we got for this video was, and this was bought by management, who are my former roommates who were managing this girl, was like this giant, like 4-foot vase. It's like this clear, sort of gigantic, cylindrical vase. Almost think of like a giant test tube. So we filled it 3/4 of the way with water, and we put some flowers in it. And for one of the shots, I shot through it. Let me actually see if I could find.
That's cool.
Hold on, I can find this thing so I can kind of show you what it looked like. Hold on. Sorry. Hold on, while I'm looking for it, just say something so it's not dead air.
Oh, I will say one thing. I mean, this will just be a side note back to the whole Matt Walsh Vanderbilt thing. I find it so interesting that the same leftists who complain about oil companies and corporations and tech companies being greedy and exploiting consumers for lots of money, they're totally fine with hospitals being greedy and exploiting minors for tons of money.
Oh, yeah.
It's just funny how that works, isn't it?
It is funny how it works. But going back
Did you find it?
Yeah, I found it. So going back to the story, what you're seeing on screen now is some of that video.
Oh.
And it was cool. It was done for very low budget. But that's the vase. This is the vase that nearly killed me. And I don't know if you can see it here, but on the left side of it, there's kind of like these striations and scratches on the vase. It's kind of hard to see. When you're watching on your computer, you'll be able to see it a little bit better. But it's a cool effect, shooting through with the water is kind of cool. So we do that, we wrap up, and one of my best friends at the time, who still is a very good friend, she was supposed to meet us when we wrapped. So I was texting her, where are you? And she wasn't responding. So I said, okay, let's wrap up. I ordered Chipotle for Adrian, the intern, and we're waiting for it to happen, and we break everything down, and I say, Adri, we gotta dump this vase, we can't leave it here. So he says, okay, cool, how do you want to do it? I said, let me grab it by the front, because it's full, so it weighs a bunch right now. So I grab it by the front or the top of the vase. He grabs it by the bottom, and I said, there's a metal slop sink in that corner right there, let's dump it into the slop sink. So I pick it up, we take it over there, and I guess when I told him to lift it, the water started pouring out really fast. And I think the force of the water coming out caused me to drop it a little bit. So it hit the tip of the vase, hit the metal slop sink, And it sounded like, imagine a cello string snapping in half. And then it took this part of my arm, like just totally took that part off. And in an instant, I look down, I see a hole in my arm, and I say to myself, oh, I'm dying. This is me. I'm going to die. Because, you watch movies, war movies, people where they kill themselves, they cut right here and stuff like that. So I said, oh, I'm dying. So the first natural reaction that I had was, I covered it right away. Like, I absolutely covered it, and I yelled at AJ. I was like, give me something. So I think he gave me, I don't know if it was the shirt off his back, but it was one of his shirts, because I wrapped it up like around my wrist, and then I'm still losing blood. At this point. So I'm like, okay, let me lay down. So I'm laying down, and I'm saying to myself, I'm dying. This is it. And it wasn't like this scary sort of thing. I was just waiting for it to happen. Because with a cut like this, it's not like I'm being shot in the belly. So it's not like an extreme amount of pain or anything like that, or I'm being tortured. It's that slow kind of death where you're just bleeding out.
Were you like fading? Did you feel yourself fading?
No, but I felt myself getting really tired. Until a bunch of people that were in another room, they were doing an acting class. They come out, they like ran out to see, because they thought I was acting. They thought I was in another acting class, and I was yelling and screaming. They were like, wow, this guy's really into it. So they came out to see what was happening. And this one woman, I have a picture of it by that, because I told AG to take a picture of it. I was like, just in case I, come through this, just have a picture of it. So I'm laying there on the floor. There's a woman whose hand is on my forehead, and there's someone else whose hand is on my shoulder while I'm laying there. And they have, like, I'm holding my hand up like this. So ambulance was called. The guys picked me up. They're like, okay, let's take him to Bellevue, because Bellevue has one of the best trauma centers in the city. And Bellevue is also known for being like a huge psycho ward, in the early 19th century. It's like, oh, if a guy got out of Bellevue, he was in there for, what do they call it? What's the code identification for someone getting locked up for?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Whatever that is. So I go there, and they put this tourniquet on me. That's like the inflatable tourniquet or whatever. But even before that, the doctors were looking at me, because luckily there was a guy in the next bed in the trauma center who had the same exact injury. He was a construction worker, but on the other wrist. So I remember the doctors coming over, taking the bandages off, and they're all looking inside my arm. I was like, this is weird. I'm not looking at any of it. But I never passed out. I never faded away. But I remember asking the doctor, I was like, could I have died from this? And he's like, you could have easily bled out had you not wrapped it right away. He was like, how long did you wait to wrap it? I said, it happened. I looked at it, and I started to wrap it. And he's like, okay, that's good. Any longer than that, you could have bled out. You could have died. I said, okay.
Oh my gosh.
They put, yeah, no, I know. They put me in a room. They put the pump up tourniquet, so they don't have it wrapped. It's almost like the thing to get your heart pressure done. They put that sleeve on you, and they inflate the tourniquets to stop the bleeding. One of my friends comes, and he's staying with me the most of the night. And I remember my wrist feeling wet. And I'm like, my wrist is wet. And then he looks up. He's like, oh. So they go to get the nurse, and the nurse inflates the tourniquet again. There's been no pain that I've experienced worse than a tourniquet. It is I can't even describe it, but it cuts off the circulation to your hand. So my hand, I know it's there. You can't feel it, but there's this pain emanating from my arm that I just couldn't believe. And luckily, Adri, who's friends with my friend, she shows up, and I see her, and I'm like, the first thing was like, why weren't you there? Because I'm imagining, like, if she was there, this probably wouldn't have happened. I would have been preoccupied or something. But she felt really bad because she didn't know what was happening. Something was going on with her. So it was just really, really a really interesting, and it wasn't, I'd call it a near-death experience. I didn't experience near-death, floating up to heaven or anything like that, but it was definitely a near-death experience. And a month later, I met my wife. From being in the occupational therapy waiting room and being on Tinder.
Oh.
So that's how we initially met.
Oh, wow.
And it's funny because about a week or two before I even went to New York, I was calling my mom, and we were talking, and she was like, how you liking LA? I was like, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to stay here. I don't know what it is. But I never left New York after that. I got hurt in New York. I stayed there. We shipped my car back. My buddy packed up all the stuff that I had. I was staying in his studio apartment on his kitchen floor at the time. So he packed up my car and they shipped it back to New York. And I stayed in New York, met Carly. That was in April of 2017 was our first, initial Tinder hello. The middle of May was our first date. And then I proposed to her a year later. And then we were married 6 months later.
Wow.
So yeah, that was the near-death experience. I don't think we ever talked about that on the show, did we?
No, we haven't. No.
Yeah.
No, we haven't. We haven't talked about mine either, have we?
Yeah, we did.
We did.
In your episode where it was like, who's Gina Bontempo?
Yeah, okay,
Remember? Yeah, we talked about your fire.
After you had that experience,
yeah,
did you feel like you had any sort of spiritual, I don't want to say awakening, but did you have a spiritual experience as well?
No, I didn't have that. What I said to myself was, and I kind of remember, I said, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I can't do anything about it. And that was kind of, I remember I was thinking, I thought of two things. I thought of my mom and I thought of my friend who wasn't there. And I was just like, and I think I told my buddy, I was like, if I go, let her know, let her know, let my mom know, let everybody know. He's like, okay, I got you. And it's weird because other people may not have seen, how severe I thought it was. They probably, okay, like, all right, we'll just wait for the ambulance to come. As long as an ambulance comes, he's fine.
But you were experiencing something.
I saw a hole in my arm. You know what I mean? That is it's anywhere else on your body. You're like, okay, maybe unless it's, you get shot in the head or you get stabbed right through the heart or something like that. But most people see any injury around the wrist area or around any artery because what happened was I had severed nerves, I had severed tendons, and I had I didn't have a punctured artery. So the artery wasn't completely severed.
Okay.
I believe the artery was punctured. They had to repair it. I think my surgery was 6 hours long.
Wow. So tell me about the function you have in your hand now.
So the functionality is, let's see. So these two fingers are they feel like, pins and needles. They feel like they're constantly asleep.
He's pointing to his ring and pinky.
Yeah, they can see it.
No, I mean the audio.
Oh, the audio. Yeah. So when I make a fist, you can see the atrophy kind of. That's what the nerve damage did. The nerve damage basically.
Can you see both hands? Could do both hands.
So this is a regular fist. This is my left fist. Can you see the difference in them?
Yeah, I think I can see it, especially in your ring finger.
Right. It's in the last two fingers. So what was happening was there was no electricity that was getting to my hand from a certain point. So the nerve damage was right around here because you could see that's the beginning of the scar. They opened it up a little bit more because they had to go a little bit further down and do repairs. So apparently nerves regenerate at a rate of a very, very small amount per day. And they said, if you're a smoker, you have to stop smoking because smoking stunts nerve growth. I said, okay, I'll stop doing that. And I think the ligament damage was better because they said after about 4 months of occupational therapy, I went to one of the residents and he said, if I didn't know you had an injury, I probably wouldn't be able to tell. Like your hands is recuperated pretty well, but it's probably at 95%. It's just these two fingers are kind of annoying.
Because you were telling me that you struggle with like plank and push up, things like that.
Yeah. Well, actually 2 weeks ago, I was able to do 10 push-ups comfortably with this hand flat on the table. So a lot of people can't see, but flat on the table. So here's a little bit of flex. I'm wearing shorts, so it's kind of embarrassing to wear up, but thank you, Tact Hunt Fish. Oh, and shout out to Kilo for sending me the shirt. But this is normal flex. Let's see. This is normal flex on my hand. So you see how I can push forward?
Yep.
And it's my hand's flat?
Yep.
This is it. On my other hand, I can't get past there.
Oh, I see.
And these fingers aren't flat on the table. And it's like getting past that super hard. I also like going back. Going back is a little bit more difficult. Like that's kind of like painful there, but this one I can go, as far back as I need to. This one can't really do that.
Thank God you're okay.
Yeah, thank God I'm okay, right?
Praise God. I mean, it's incredible how God saves us and then uses it for something better.
Well, that's one of those things. I say we don't have control over our lives whatsoever. Yeah. We think we do, but we don't. But it's just, I'm talking to my mother a week, 2 weeks before that, saying I don't want to be in LA. I texting a friend who's supposed to be someplace and she's not, and then I'm in a waiting room passing time and I meet my wife. So it's just like, yeah, it's definitely God at work, I think.
Yeah. Definitely. You just never know. Like you never know what's going to come your way.
You didn't know you were going to get your eyebrows blown off?
No. And it was honestly people think I'm joking or just being cliche, but it was one of the best things that ever happened to me because it brought me back home.
Yeah.
It brought me back home. And it's one of those things you just don't know what's going to happen in your life. Like my grandma's 90 years old and one of my family members was like, well, whenever she dies, da da da. And in my head, I'm like, dude, you could die before her.
Oh yeah.
You don't know. There is no guarantee.
No.
Zero guarantee.
No, for nothing. Listen,
for nothing.
I think we're going to get into questions here because we have a lot of good questions.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, you guys have been really good on the questions lately, so I just want to commend you.
Right? I don't see any.
I don't see any thoughts just
my
yet.
followers, because I did an AMA the other day, and the question was macro versus intuitive eating.
What are your thoughts? That's just it.
It just said macro versus.
Well, where do I start? Is there anything specific?
I'm like, it's not a question.
Also, I just want to point out remember the dating advice that I gave about, not having necessarily a checklist, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. I'm married with a child. Whatever I did works, okay? And I learned from other mistakes before that. So you can still take my advice with a grain of salt, but you maybe want to listen to me. You maybe want to listen to Gina, married with a kid, okay? So don't say I don't know what I'm talking about. That's a gripe I have with a comment that I saw. First question. Oh, here we go. Are women's pantsuits cross-dressing? I'll let you take care of that one.
Oh, are women's pantsuits cross-dressing? Oh, that's an interesting question. No.
You don't think so?
No.
Yeah, no, it's...
Obviously not.
No. Yeah.
No.
I like the pantsuit every now and then.
Because it's for women. It's made for women.
It's made for the women, yes.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's obviously because what people don't like to admit is that it also matters like cultural, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the culture matters.
Yeah.
So for example, like in Scotland, a kilt.
Kilt, yeah,
that's not cross-dressing.
Right, exactly. No.
Like the culture matters. The cultural state. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what I'm looking for. But you get what I'm saying. Like the state of the culture matters.
Cultural relativism, maybe. I don't know.
Cultural relevance.
But,
I don't know.
Women wearing pants is a new thing in Western culture. It's not like, Scottish people have always been wearing kilts for hundreds of years.
Yeah, but I guess it's not really that new. I mean, we've been doing it for quite a while now.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well, Emily Rose saying, y'all talked about men wearing dresses, but what do you think about, should women wear pants? Listen, it's covering their legs. So yeah.
Should they?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, why not?
Good. Why not?
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have a problem with that. Miss Wilson, spooky season approaches. Ever had a paranormal experience, seen something unexplainable? We've talked about this. I've talked about my aunt's house.
Yes, you did. I remember that now.
So I'll give a really abridged version for those of you who hadn't heard it before. My aunt had this house before my dad designed a second floor addition to this house. There was a cape in her house. And for people who don't know what a cape is essentially, think of a ranch house, but then there is a staircase leading up to just a second floor, but those second floors only consist of 2 rooms. So you walk up the stairs, boom, go left, boom, go right. That's a cape. So there's not a hallway or anything like that. But this cape had a bathroom in it. And whenever I was in that bathroom, I always felt like someone was looking at me. I felt like someone was staring at me. And I could feel them just kind of...
Heebie-jeebies, stop.
Yeah, heebie-jeebies. My mom told me later on, that house was definitely haunted. We had a priest before they started the work on the second floor. We had a priest bless the house. And I remember there was a point where nothing felt weird after a certain point. It's like I didn't have that weird feeling anymore. So yeah, supernatural, yeah.
I haven't.
My mom she's like, don't talk about me on the show, but she has some medium type tendencies. Like, she won't be able to tell you about things, but she said, I had this dream and then this happened. Whoa, cool.
Oh, my mom has that too.
Yeah.
Is it like an older mom thing?
It could be this intuitive.
Maybe it's an immigrant mom thing.
Well, Carly has it too. She's not an immigrant. She's not.
I've had one dream that came true, but that's it.
What was it?
Well, it was like I dreamt in my dream, it was coming to me that someone was pregnant, and then a couple of days later, she was like, "I'm pregnant."
Nice.
Yeah, but and my mom has had dreams like that for a long time. She'll have dreams of something, and then because Koreans have this way to interpret dreams, and then she'll interpret it, and then it almost always comes true.
Yeah, I might be ruining this. I can't remember if I am, but I think the one that stands out to me the most was my mom had a dream about my paternal grandmother, my dad's mother. And she's like, what is she's like, she saw her kind of walk in the hallway of the house. Like, what are you doing here? And my grandma was like, oh, I'm just saying goodbye or whatever. And then that morning wakes up and finds out that she had passed. I think, but something similar to that. I don't want to ruin it, but that may be it. Nature's dopamine. Do you and Gina pray before your shows? No, we probably should.
Well, that's a good question.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should.
Okay. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Emily Rose had an interesting question. She said, my boyfriend and I are getting married next year at 19 and 21. They always ask why and what's the point. Don't see any point in getting married. I always cringe when I hear this. Any pro-marriage comebacks?
Yeah. So there's a really good book called The Case for Marriage, and a lot of the content, I mean, the book is now about 20 years old, but it covers a lot of data and studies and statistics from many decades of research on marriage. There is a very stark difference statistically between cohabitating, or is it cohabiting?
Cohabitating. Yeah,
cohabitating. Between cohabitating and marriage.
Okay.
Really big difference. Not only in the length of the relationship, but the level of happiness and even the level of health in the relationship.
Yeah.
And the general, there's a lot of data showing that people who are simply cohabitating, they don't even take the relationship as seriously as a couple who is married.
Right.
Because what people fail to understand, this is why I'm totally against this idea that government shouldn't be involved in marriage. Yes, it should. The government should absolutely be involved in marriage, because marriage is not just a private thing between you and me. Marriage is it's a public matter. Marriage is a way to present yourself to society as a very different unit than if you were just a boyfriend, girlfriend, or single, or divorced, or whatever.
Okay.
And the government should be giving tax breaks to marriage. They should recognize marriage, because marriage is about creating a family and procreating and contributing to society.
Right.
That's the point of a marriage. So all that to say is I would highly recommend reading this book, because it's going to give you a lot of ways to respond to these questions. Well, why would you get married? Because there's a lot of data showing that your relationship, your life will look very different if you get married versus cohabitate.
So here's some advice that maybe you can impart on someone who he DM'd me and he said, Mike, do you have any advice for me? I won't say who he is or whatever. Young kid in school, but him and his girlfriend really, really want to get married. They really, really want to get married. Both of them are set on it. And he asked me, he said, should I save up money before I do this? And, how should I go about it? And we had probably about a 20-minute discussion. And I said to him, are you planning on finishing school? Is she planning on finishing school? How much do you have saved? That's not necessarily that important. If you're really wanting to do it, then, money's not necessarily going to matter. But I think what I eventually told him was, give it a year. Give it a year. Try to get X amount of what you're looking to get saved up before you move out, because you want to live on your own. Because right now you live by yourself, but with 3 roommates. Okay, you don't want to
roommates.
You don't want to do that when you get married. You guys want to live alone, so make sure that you're financially able to do that, and you have maybe 10 to 12x of your rent payments or something saved up just in case something happens. But yeah, also it's like Michael Knowles would tell him, wait till college is over. Wait till you're ready to embark, both professionally and whatever. Relationship wise, it's probably a more mature time to do it. But I don't know. When it comes down to it, whatever advice that we give people are going to do whatever they're going to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you say to? And they were around the same age.
What age was it?
Oh my God. I think both of them were 18 or 19.
Yeah, that's young. I mean, it's always tough. It's tough to give advice to someone like this, because we don't know enough. It's hard to know enough about someone's relationship via DM.
Yes.
That you never met them.
Well, I got him on the phone. I had a little video call with him.
Oh, wow.
And one of the things I made sure, I said, are both your parents, understanding of this? Do they know that? And they're like, yeah, they both know. I was like, have you asked for her father's blessing yet? And he said, well, no, I plan on doing that before I propose to her. I said, apart from, the actual blessing conversation, have a conversation with your possible future father-in-law and let him know what your intentions are and say, hey, how do you feel about this? What's your advice, if anything? Because, these are people who have lived through what you've gone through. You may as well seek advice from them. I'm someone you may look up to on the internet, but I think people closer to you, like your potential father-in-law, could be someone whose, insight might be a little bit more valuable than mine.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also kind of in the camp where it's like, you're never going to be fully ready. You're never going to be fully ready to have kids. You're never going to be fully ready to get married.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you need to have a certain amount of money to feel like you can make it, and here's my thing too about marriage is that there's people put too much of an emphasis on finding the right person. Marriage at the end of the day is really more about choosing to to do life with a person.
Oh yeah.
You know, making the choice. It's a choice every single day because there are many right people for you. There are. I don't believe in the one.
Yeah.
I really believe in yes, you have to have like a foundational set of beliefs and values that you share, and they have to check off like the basic criteria. But once you have the foundational criteria checked off, there's no such thing as the one or the right person. It's really who you choose, and you both have to choose every day.
Someone DM'd me something the other day. It was from a rabbi, unbased, but the rabbi was saying something along the lines of he was saying something along the lines of, don't marry the one who you think will be a good wife. He said something like that. He said, you ever hear these people who go through, a bunch of women saying, oh, she's not the one for me. She's not the one for me. But this one I would marry. Don't marry that one. Because if you think you can just be happy with one woman who you think you can marry, you're not set for marriage. Marriage is totally different. He wasn't really saying it like that. He was saying it like in New York. He was like, marriage is a little different.
What brings us together today?
Oh, that's Michael. You know what? I was just thinking about an Office episode. Remember the one where, who does he give a compliment to? He's like, you know what? I would never say this to her face, but Pam is intelligent. She's super talented. He's like, oh, why would you never say that to her face?
Oscar says that, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Because he originally says to the intern, he was like, she's the office hoe and she'll probably sleep with you too.
Right.
And Pam walks away because she gets offended. And then he's like, I would never say this to her face, but she's a wonderful person. She's very talented.
Why wouldn't you say it to her face? No, this rabbi he was just basically saying, like, if you don't think you have the capacity for marriage in general, but you can marry one specific person, you're probably not ready for marriage. And I said, that makes some sense. I'm missing the rest of the context of this video, but
yeah,
kind of.
I can get that.
Yeah, on the whole. Let's go to the next question. Sorry, my phone went off.
Get married.
I can get my face back in it.
Get married and have many kids. I mean, the good thing about getting married at 18 and 19 is you can have a couple of years of marriage, and then you can start procreating at 21 or 22, and you just bang out all those kids, man.
Literally.
Yeah, you can have 10 kids by the time you're 40.
Oh, Emily Rose ended her 3-part question with mountains or beach?
Mountains. It depends. I guess it
depends where the beach is.
Depends on where the beach is.
Yeah, if it's a Caribbean beach, probably the beach. If it's like
an Australian beach, the beach.
Appalachian mountain or something like that, that's probably nice.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here.
Florida beach now.
Oh, here we go. This is from Eric, who's a member of the men's club. So shout out, Eric.
What's up?
Should a husband/wife have unfettered access to their spouse's phone, to his or her spouse's phone? Why or why not?
Yeah, I see this question a lot online.
Really?
A lot. And I'm honestly a bit surprised that it's even a question. Like, my husband and I know the passwords to each other's phone.
Yeah.
But like, first of all,
right, same.
There's no need to go through each other's phone. But there's also no need to not have access to each other's phone.
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't know. It's really hard for me to explain. I guess from a personal perspective, like my husband and I don't have any trust issues. So like he's more than welcome to go through my phone at any time.
Right.
But he doesn't because he doesn't have to, and vice versa. Like,
right. I think so.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do think that it is good to have access to your spouse's phone because what it just indicates is that there's nothing to hide.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's also a weird thing because you always see memes and especially things in pop culture of, the crazy girl who's going through the guy's phone is like, hey, what are you doing going through my phone? Or vice versa. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, I don't know. It's a weird thing if I'm not like, hey, can I check something on here? Yeah, go ahead. But hey, can I check something on here? No, that's my phone. That's my phone. That seems a little weird to me, especially in a marriage.
Very weird.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I think at the point of marriage, you guys should pretty much have unfettered access to each other, especially to
even from a more practical sense. It's like, if I don't know, from a practical sense of like, I need to look up something. I don't know. I can't even think of an example, but like from a financial point of view, like I need to look up our banking for a second.
Right,
like,
right.
You just, I don't have my phone. Can you look up this? Like from a practical point of view, it also makes sense to just have access to each other's phones.
Reasonable, right?
Or like if I have a note about our daughter and like, what time she woke up or something. Oh, can you look it up here? And I don't know. It just makes sense to have each other's access to each other's phone.
I'd agree.
Because like so for example, I have all of our social security numbers and that kind of information on my phone somewhere.
Oh, really?
My husband doesn't have it on his phone, but like if we're somewhere and we need to have each other's info, like he'll just pick up my phone and grab it. Things like that.
Yeah. I think if the the other party or either party is reluctant to have the other party on his or her phone, then it might be maybe a red flag. Red flag.
Red flag.
Do you think sports are a net positive on society, or has the obsession of it done more harm? It's an interesting question. I don't think sports in general are a net negative. I think sports are healthy. I think young kids should be into sports. I think people should play sports as adults. It's great exercise. It gives you something to do. Sport can become a great hobby. As far as like team sports and the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, and especially with things like, I don't know, like severe fanship or betting on sports or something like that, that could probably be maybe a little bit of a net negative. But I don't see sports in general having a net negative impact on society. I think it's just, how people react to them.
Yeah, I think sports are absolutely a net positive.
Yeah.
100%. I love sports. I love what children can learn from sports. I think it teaches a really great sense of discipline, teaches hard work, it teaches perseverance, it teaches kids how to play the long game.
Yeah.
And it teaches kids how to work together. I mean, obviously team sports, but even like non-team sports like tennis or golf, like you still have to interact with a group of people and you still have to be good in social settings. Of course, there are, Cernovich talks about this a lot, and he's like very against husbands and fathers really being into sports and watching sports every weekend because he feels like it's a stupid thing that takes them away from their family. And yes, of course, there will always be sports fanatics that are so obsessed with sports that it takes them away from important things. But just like anything else, like there are negative things about organized religion. There are some organized religions that use their set of values to abuse children. Yeah. Of course there are. Sure. There are certain denominations of certain religions and cults that will try to do that. That doesn't mean that religion is a net negative in general. Right. Same with sports.
It's the same thing when, you kind of see atheists say, okay, Sky Daddy, you're going to go pray to your Sky Daddy. Like I've seen a lot of on the right influencers say, oh, look at these people going to play their sports ball today. Like, yeah, dude, I play sports. I like sports. I played them all throughout high school.
Sports,
so what?
Sports provides you a transcendent experience.
I'm playing golf tomorrow.
Sports gives you a really important experience in life that I think it makes, the thing about team sports too, whether you're playing team sports or whether you're a fan, it really does make you feel like you're a part of something bigger. Yeah. That's okay. That's a good thing. Like I'm very inspired by athletes.
Be a little cringe at some time if like that's what your whole identity is to a team. When people say like we're gonna crush it this weekend, well, you're not playing, so
that's obviously like the outliers. Like going back to what I was saying, there's always some negatives of anything that has a net positive. But I mean, I think that athletes as a whole, I mean, they get a bad rep, like a lot of NBA players because they're on tour, they're traveling more than any other team. Like a lot of NBA players are unfaithful to their wives.
A lot of football players are domestic abusers.
Things like that, of course. But like, I think that on the whole, there are a lot of elite athletes that can be really good role models to kids and that we can look up to. I think as a whole, sports are a great thing. This is actually, I want to do an episode one day on tennis because I really believe that tennis is one of the last sports that has the best role models, has the most class, has the most to teach kids, because there's something very unique about tennis is that it's the only sport where you are totally on your own and it is illegal to get coaching when you're playing. And I think it teaches kids a lot about independence. Yeah. And I think that out of all the sports, I think tennis requires the strongest mental fortitude.
Listen,
for a lot of different reasons.
There's a very famous pro tennis athlete whose wife follows you on Instagram. You need to lobby her to get his husband on.
I honestly, like I'm not kidding, because Djokovic has blown up in the last 2 years.
Does your finger go like this when you just want to message her? You just want to be like,
all the time. I know, because Djokovic has become like a sort of icon of the right because he's anti-vax. So people are like, oh, you just like Djokovic now. Dude, I ask my family. I have been a Djokovic fan since I was 16 years old.
What is the harm in sending a message, Gina?
To Yelena?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I want you to do it so bad. I've made a career by emailing people and being scared to death.
I know, that's how I got my job with Candace.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so do it.
I don't know what to say to her. I love them so much. I think there's...
You could say something along the lines of, I'm a fan of you. I'm a fan of your husband. I know you follow me. We talk about Novak all the time on the show. We would love to have the two of you guys on. maybe one day in the future to talk tennis, to talk about what's been going on with you guys. We're not a big show, but it would mean the world. Something like that, where it's just extreme humility, but also...
he wouldn't do it because...
You don't know that.
I just don't think he would. It's too much heat, especially everything he's going through with the Crenshaw and stuff.
But so what? He's got nothing else to lose at this point. Didn't play the U.S. Open. Didn't play didn't play Wimbledon. So what does it matter?
He's seriously politically persecuted. I mean, I could go on for hours about tennis in general and Djokovic. Like I can't even tell you. I love Novak and Yelena's marriage and how they raise their kids and I just love everything they do. The foundation they have. It's the
same with me in golf.
I want to message Yelena so badly.
Do it, guys, in the comments. On Instagram, DM Gina, tell her to do it. In the comments, tell her that the Grateful Nation is behind her. We're obviously not going to spam them. We don't need to do that, but just behind Gina. We want Gina to do it. We'd love to have Joe. I really don't know too much about him other than, the controversy that has followed him around in the recent years. But I'm definitely interested because I've always liked watching tennis. Every Sunday when I would go to my grandparents' house, it was either tennis was on and then football. So we would always watch tennis. My grandparents, the only country club that they ever belonged to was a tennis-only country club.
Right.
So I have a little bit of a connection to tennis. I was never good at it.
Yeah, I love it. It's my favorite sport. Again, one day we'll do a whole segment on tennis.
Sports are good. Anyone who says sports ball is cringe, don't talk to that person. Don't be friends with that person.
Probably fat.
Next question. Cam McLean. Yeah, probably fat. Yeah, maybe. What do you think of IVF? A lot of conservative Christians do it, and I'm not sure about it. I don't think anyone outside of God and two parents should create a baby.
Yeah, so here's my thing about IVF is that the problem is the destruction of embryos. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Although I am kind of coming around to that same thing that you just said is that...
I was having a conversation with Carly. I was like, why? I said, why are people buying kids? Surrogates and stuff like that. Why are they doing it? And she was like, yeah, it seems kind of weird. Why can't they just go the old fashioned, route of adopting a child? It's just become such like a designer thing right now.
It is. Yeah, it's
people getting mad because if they find out the surrogate is carrying the wrong sex and demanding a refund for the wrong sex of their designer baby.
Wrongful
Something
birth.
Seems incredibly immoral about
children are not commodities.
About that. Yeah.
Yeah, IVF is tough because my cousin and his wife are about to give birth. Well, she's about to give birth and they could only conceive via IVF. And it's difficult, it's really difficult to talk about because I'm sure everyone listening, probably most people listening have someone they love or know that had to go through IVF to conceive. Unfortunately, in modern society has produced a lot of women that are unable to conceive because of
the pill.
Because of the pill, because of lifestyle, because of diet, because of environment.
Well, here's the thing. We're not saying that the people who, have had children through IVF are evil, horrible people. You think that we wish it didn't have to exist, obviously, but we're just saying that the method just seems unnatural. And it is unnatural.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
Quite literally.
It is the definition of unnatural. And I think that is something that's worth talking about. But I think on a whole, I'm not really pro IVF.
We've said that a lot on a whole today.
Have we?
Yeah, we've said
on a half.
Yeah.
On two halves. In summary, I mean, and obviously, like I said, the biggest thing with IVF is I had to tell my cousin, I had to be like, bro, you can't, because they've got two boys. Frozen right now.
Oh.
And, he jokes, he's like, my little boys are cold right now. And
That's
I told
weird.
him, and I had to explain to him, here's the thing.
Macabre.
A lot of people don't know that when you destroy an embryo, you're aborting your baby.
Yeah, of course.
I had to tell him. He was like, I didn't even think about that. I was like, yeah, you didn't think about that because the doctors don't tell you that.
Right.
They treat your son
exactly.
as if it's some like petri dish thing that they can just flick off and kill. You have two sons waiting for you.
Right.
And I told him, I was like, bro, if you and your wife don't want to have those sons, you come talk to me. You better not destroy my nephews.
Oh.
You better not kill my nephews.
Did you say that?
I said that to him.
Really?
And he was like, oh, okay. My cousin, he's very receptive to it. I mean, I didn't say that to him in front of his wife because I know that, she probably hasn't thought about it either because I know a lot of parents, even some Christian parents, they don't put two and two together and the doctors don't explain to them that it's an abortion.
Yeah. You're
killing your child. So that's the thing. If you're going to do IVF, you better not kill your babies.
Eli Murgot says, should we make obesity illegal? I don't know how they're going to regulate that, but
It costs a lot of money to regulate because there's some fat motherfuckers in this country.
Oh, well, did you see that? I'm sure people who follow us on IDG, the podcast on Instagram, they saw a thing. So Karamo from the Queers has his own kind of daytime talk show. Did you see this? The thing that I posted where it's some woman talking about body positivity. And he's like, oh yeah, you give your daughter a freaking glazed donut in the morning.
Lol.
Is that body positivity? And she's like, let me tell you something. Being body positive is just about liking who you are. And Cromwell's like, I'm gonna stop the conversation right here because no man should tell a woman how she feels about her body. And I'm like, regardless of how we feel or what we tell her about how she feels about her body, she's dying. And then
Feelings.
someone else posted, she's called like the fat doctor. Is that the one that you saw?
Yep.
She's like, the CDC says that overweight people aren't dying quicker.
They live longer.
They live longer. And then she put right under that. So I may have been a little hasty with that. The CDC never said that. And no, that's just, guess who was dying? Guess who had the highest rate of morbidity among COVID people who had COVID? Yeah, exactly. So should we outlaw obesity? Now, if I'm strictly conservative, yeah, you outlaw obesity.
Do we, okay, so we also outlaw homosexuality. We also outlaw, what else?
Transgenderism, we outlaw that. We outlaw drugs.
All drugs.
All drugs.
I would be in favor of outlawing alcohol. Bye-bye.
What happens after that? What takes place? Do all the people who were consumed in those vices, what do they do? How are they treated? Because you got to do something with them. You got to be able to do something with them. You either have to treat their illness or, I mean, what do you do? If this is the world where everything is outlawed, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Very interesting question.
They play sports.
Yeah, go play sports. Free sports. We'll pay for everything, all the equipment. Except for golf. If you're obese, then we got to get you into something a little bit more active.
Yeah.
Soccer's tough, man.
A lot of running.
Yeah. Cross-country runners, remember what Alex was saying? They tend to have a higher IQ and a little bit autistic.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I spoke to a cross-country runner. He DM'd me. He's like, he's right. I'm a little autistic and my IQ is pretty high. Meg Merritt wants to know, will the gala be free to the people invited / accepted, or will there be a fee? Nothing's free. You pay. We're going to have to spend a lot of money on this gala.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be free because it's very expensive to put on. We're not going to make it $300, but it is going to be like $600.
Yeah. No, I think it would be, somewhat comparable of going to either a stadium or a really nice venue for a musician you love or something like that. And
honestly,
having good seats.
Yeah, I'm not going to even throw out a number now because we need to figure out how much it costs. We have no idea.
This thing started out as a joke, and now everybody is saying, I'm down for the gala, I'm down for the ball, I'm down for the gala. I'm like, we have to do this now.
You guys better
seriously,
come. If you don't come, I will burn Utica to the ground.
No, if no one shows up to the gala, I quit this podcast because it just shows that everybody is a liar.
Liar, pants on fire.
I will not put on a show for liars.
There was a comment on the last episode. They said, "Can I bring my girlfriend?" And like, yeah, definitely. It's not only
for singles.
It's not only for singles.
But Gina and I are matchmaking. That's the whole point.
That's the point. So you better come on your best behavior and your best outfits.
Will there be an age limit with the IDG gala? Amanda S. Bow wants to know.
Yes.
As far as minimum age, you got to be at least 18 to come to the gala, or do we want to go 21?
Well, minimum and maximum.
Really?
Unless you're a special guest.
No boomers.
Yeah.
No boomers at the gala.
Unless you're like a special guest who is already married and you're just like coming as a guest,
Yeah.
Then there won't be an age limit. But for, if for invitation only people who are attending the gala, especially if you're single and you're looking for
18 to 25
marriage.
Yeah.
There is a minimum and a maximum age.
Also, we're making this up as we go along. So we have no idea. Okay. Slade, who's a frequent question asker in the nation. What is your favorite novel? Do you have one?
I'm honestly not a big novel person, but let me think. I love
the
nonfiction.
Bible. The Bible.
No.
No, because my favorite is Unintended Consequences. It's probably my favorite novel.
Yes.
Unintended Consequences.
I really like this novel called The Unbearable Lightness of Being. It's something that I read a while ago and it stayed with me. Milan is his name. Milan.
Luke's asking
Milan Kundera.
Oh, nice. Milan Kundera. I know the answer to your question. I probably have the same answer. Do you reject the Enlightenment? Yes, right.
Yes.
That's something. Okay.
Yeah, I am not a fan of individual autonomy.
Okay.
Just kidding.
I don't know what this
Individual
question
liberty.
is, so I'm not going to ask it.
We need
that's
authority
kind of
back.
a general one.
Authoritarianism.
Gina Ocello
Achu?
wants to know, why don't you support Black Rifle Coffee? My office cabinet is full of it because my coworkers love it. They don't. They are one of these people that are like rules for me, not for thee. So they claim to support the Second Amendment, but only for certain types of people. And a lot of the people that they like and are partnered with are kind of like these, celebrity, Instagram famous, former special forces operators who don't think that a civilian should be able to have the weaponry that they were using in their military career. So that's one of the reasons why I don't necessarily care for them. I also find is it weird that I find uber patriotic and Black Rifle Coffee basically are for people who have thin blue line flags on their cars. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that uber patriotic cringe where you can tell that it's like the people that have the "Don't Tread on Me" license plates kind of in a way where it's like, yeah, but you'll still do whatever a cop tells you to do, right? You won't question authority, right? So you're kind of a hypocrite. So yeah, I believe that they're hypocrites.
Yeah, I don't know enough about them, but I support that.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to the guy on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, don't. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Or do. I
listened to 5 minutes, then it got too cringe for me.
Okay, here's a question that I have looked up so I can put it on the screen for you guys. Hold on, because it's Latin. So "du pasque to corvus."
Okay, let's do 2 more.
Any Bible verses that you've read recently that have recently impacted you? Yes, because Gina and I, we have a very interesting opinion on works and basically salvation through faith alone, or salvation based on faith and works. And Gina is probably more of the mindset of faith, where I am. Right?
Am I?
Yeah, we had a whole back and forth about this.
No, we were no. We were talking about someone who commented and asked some really good questions, and you said they were gay and unbased questions, but they were really good questions.
No. Oh, right. That was saying that praying the rosary is pagan
yeah,
and necromancy. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. But when we had Dr. Easley on, he did talk about how he pushed the Bible away from his Catholic priest friend. He was like, no. All I need is faith. Whatever I need is in here.
No, we were talking about salvation through the Catholic Church. That's what I take issue with.
Oh.
Salvation through the Catholic Church is not.
But the Catholic Church does talk about salvation through works. So that is...
No. The Catholic Church believes that there's only salvation through the Catholic Church.
I don't believe that's accurate.
Yeah, it does. That's one of the...
that would have to be there is no Protestant church. They're denominations. So Lutherans,
that's disputed.
Lutherans would believe that salvation is through the Lutheran Church. Pentecostals would believe the same thing.
No,
Orthodox
they don't.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Trust me, Bryce and I talk about this all the time. We can have Bryson on and talk about it more. But
well, he'll be on the panel. So, but anyway, it wasn't you, but it was someone who was definitely saying, no, it's by faith alone.
There was a commenter on the last episode who was talking
about faith
this.
alone. Okay, so there is, and I'm reading from the Doy Reams Bible, which is a different translation from King James, because I've been told that the King James Bible is heretical. So this talks about salvation through works, and it's James chapter 2 I'll start verses 14 through, let's say, 20. So this is what it says. What shall it profit, my brethren, if a man say he hath faith, but hath not works? Mm-hmm. Shall faith be able to save him? And if a brother or sister be naked and want daily food, and one of you say to them, go in peace, be ye warmed and filled, yet give them not those things that are necessary for the body, what shall it profit? So faith also, if it have not works, is dead in itself. Mm-hmm. But some men will say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without works, and I will show thee by works my faith. Thou believest that there is one God, thou dost well. The devils also believe and tremble. But wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? Mm-hmm. So I found that to be pretty interesting as far as talking to people about, salvation through faith alone. I labeled it as lazy. I felt that, if you're not doing it, it's the thing. It's kind of like the thing where, not that thing, but when they talk about, people misconstrue that one verse in the Bible that says, if you have a speck in your eye, and they basically talk about not judging people. And that's basically, people misconstrue that all the time. And they're saying, if you are an adulterer, you cannot judge someone who is committing adultery, because you are thus committing the sin on your own, and you have no authority to judge someone else. But if you are, let's say, somewhat of a moral person, and you have absolutely the right to say, hey, man, you can't be doing this. You don't be an adulterer. It's a sin.
Well, we're supposed to. The Bible says we have to.
Right. You have to. So I'm saying, like, in my mind, is that a work? In my mind, is being charitable, are those works through the church? In my mind is, saying penance, praying the rosary, going to confession, taking the sacraments. Those are works, right? So I feel that I can have faith for as long as I live, but if I'm not practicing that faith other than by, let's say, praying and not going through what my church professes is how one achieves heaven, or how one achieves grace, or how one achieves salvation, then I would probably not be a really good practicing Catholic, right?
Yeah. I mean, my whole thing is that I want to know what the original translation is for this. Like, I want to know what works actually means in Hebrew. That's my thing, because it's really easy.
I was supposed to click this along so you guys could read it with us.
It's really easy to be like, oh, I think this means this, and this sounds like this to me. But
So what do you want to know?
I want to know. Well, you're not going to be able to just like Google it.
No, but what's the general question?
I want to know what the Hebrew translation of these words are, and what the meanings of these words are. That's what I want to know. Like, I really want to have the history of this, because I've always read this verse and thought the same too. There's also a lot of verses that say things like the righteous are the only ones who are going to be able to enter heaven.
Okay,
there are a lot of verses that point away from faith is the only thing that's going to get you to heaven. Now,
let's see. This is on the screen now. I don't know what website it's from. It says theologywork.org. I don't know if it's Protestant, Catholic, whatever. Faith and Works says James takes up the topic of work in detail in the second part of chapter 2. When discussing work, he invariably uses the plural works, Greek's erga, rather than the singular work, Greek ergon. This leads some to suppose that James uses works to mean something different from work. However, erga and ergon are simply plural and singular form of the same word. James is describing any kind of work, from works of kindness, such as giving food to someone who is hungry, to on-the-job work, such as increasing the sustainable yield of rice paddies. His use of the plural shows that he expects Christians' work to be continual. James' focuses on work has led to deep controversy about the letter. Luther famously disliked James because he read James 2:24, "You see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone," to be a contradiction of Galatians 2:16, "A person is justified not by the works of the law, but through faith in Jesus Christ." Other leaders of the Protestant Reformation did not share this view, but Luther's objection came to dominate the Protestant reading of James. Although we cannot go into the long debate about Luther in the book of James here, we can inquire briefly when James's emphasis on work is at odds with the Protestant rejection of, quote, justification by works. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
We won't get the answer from here. I mean,
no, we're definitely not.
This is going to be a really good question to bring up on the panel.
I want to hear that. I really want to hear this, because from what I have read in the Bible, it does not point to only faith getting you to heaven. But that's, just what I read. And okay. Bryson's brings up a lot of really good verses. We got to do one more, and then I got to go.
One more or two more?
One more.
Okay. Let me. Okay. Here's one more. I mean, people know the answers to this. I'll just read it, and we already know the answer. If abortion is the hill you die on, would you be willing to allow them for rape and incest victims? No. We said, no. I don't even know why anyone would ask that.
Why does a child's life suddenly become less worthy because their father was a criminal?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
Okay, let's end on this one, because this one's specifically for you, and because you say one more question, here we go. For Gina, this is from Hart Wingate. Would you ever consider becoming Catholic or Orthodox?
Yeah, I consider it all the time. I guess they haven't listened to the show, because we've talked about this a lot. Yeah, I mean, I was going to a Catholic church in D.C.
Yeah.
I was going to a Catholic Bible study with a Catholic priest in D.C. I'm very open.
I think they call it, now correct me if I'm wrong, do they, because I know mothers and sisters go through this in the Catholic Church, do they call it discernment when you're going from one denomination to another? Because I know that there are a lot of churches like Lutherans, Anglicans, I'm not too sure about Orthodox, but maybe even Protestants. If you're baptized in the Catholic Church, you're considered baptized, right? And like with Lutherans, you're considered baptized. You can be a member of the church. With Anglicans, I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. But I was listening to a podcast, and the mothers were talking about, well, because they were Roman Catholics, and they were talking about becoming nuns in this Orthodox church or in a Byzantine church. And they were saying, well, when I was in discernment, and I think that means, they were thinking about, oh, damn, I forgot to switch the camera. So that was just on you thinking. But I think it's about switching. Well, let me Google it. Let me Google discernment.
I don't know. That sounds like converting to me.
I think that's what discernment meaning.
No, but discernment is like having the discernment to, this is different than converting.
Discernment meaning religion.
But yeah, to that question, yeah. I mean, I've been very interested in Catholicism and Orthodoxy for a while. It's just there's a lot of theological questions that have just not been answered for me, and I think that's kind of where I get stuck, which is why I'm really looking forward to the panel, because I hope that a lot of the theological questions that I have can be answered.
Okay, well, here's discernment. What is the Catholic definition of discernment? Discernment is the process by which we discover God's will for us. Be patient. It takes time and does not happen in a vacuum. Discernment involves all the experiences of our lives and how God has called and formed us. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Very good.
Okay, well, that's it, you guys. Thank you for coming along for this, quick and fun episode. Well, not all that quick, almost an hour and a half. But we'll look forward to seeing you next time. And the next time is going to be with a very exciting young fellow of ours. Kai Clips is here next time.
Yay!
Bye, everybody.
Live stream next time. Bye-bye. In the evening. Bye. It's going to be in the evening. I got to pee so bad.
Oh, wait, it's going to be alive, right?
Yeah, it's going to be live.
Nice.